Hi, this is part 2 of my video on the arena mode, now coming in terms of other tips and tricks and countering strategies now. Continuing off from where I left in the last video. Now here you see we have got a strong Batman Ninja team wherein Catwoman may have higher damage because she's ascended, and Gorilla Grodd gives his team members extra power generation. So I wouldn't use my Justice League team against them, though some people can, because these guys have no other immortality or other buffs, and although they do high damage, they basically, unless you get an infinite combo or something going with Flash that with the immortality of the team, they have a chance to do higher damage unless you keep power draining them or something like that. But let me see if I can how I go because, Batman, because after Ascension, one thing I didn't talk about in the other video, basically after Ascension, some teams have higher passives. So here, and if you actually have an Ascended Batman Ninja Catwoman, she's not too bad. But when you face an AI version of the Batman Ninja Catwoman in Arena with that, given her additional passive and chance of true damage, feels a bit like it literally lives up to that 70%. Or she can probably do a bit more damage in Arena. So to counter her, I would either use the Batman Ninja team myself, which has immortality, or I would perhaps start with using Nightmare Batman to stun her before I do damage. Or I could even use a team with a puppet to, implement blind. Or something like that. Or I could use a team to power drain, keep on power draining them, so something on those terms. Hence there are various tactics, but let me try this. Because I've already shown you the Batman Ninja team, so let me try something else wherein I try my. But I'm conscious as to what characters you'd have as a new player. So let me try something wherein I put classic Superman who heals and power drains with his power steals, because power steal is different from power drain, and when he power steals, he can also heal himself and steal power even from characters who are immune to drain. I also use a power cost reducer with him to get access to that special quickly. Let me say it takes a bit of a time to scroll in this device on my network, and I use Power Girl with him, and I'd need a basic tank to absorb the damage front up, and I'd need somebody who's also got Kryptonian regeneration, Matrix on them or something. So I had used that Joker the last time, and I could even use Justice League Superman. But that's because, he interrupts specials and he's got that. But this isn't a team synergy because ideally you'd use classic Batman with his team and classic Wonder Woman, as they give you a chance apply blind on swipes, as well as additional critical damage, and if they do apply blind, then if classic Superman and others are there, they heal whenever they received an attack from a blinded opponent. So let's have a look at how this fight goes. I have over here probably not given myself the best odds because it is a pretty high-end team and it should be pretty interesting. But in general be very careful in terms of teams avoiding certain teams if you're facing Ascended characters, unless you have some Ascended yourself, or very carefully look at what their strengths are. This fight should be starting shortly and should be very interesting. Can this team counter Batman Ninja's immortality, blind effects, and increased power generation? So here she's also gotten Dark Metal card. So I'll wait until my Superman special tool of power stealing and defense reduction is available, and then tag him in. Yep. So the fight has started, and she isn't being as brutal as the AI usually is with her Ascended passive. Well, that's going to be a good one. So I power drained her, and I reduced her defense. So that's pretty good. And Batman. Here. I've gotten an artifact which can even, steal power. And with this team that basically, once you've steal power, you heal as well. So that's pretty useful. And what do you know? This fight is going well, and I'm going to be actually close to defeating this lady because I was initially not sure. We should see it shortly come to an end, and what do you know, I managed to get rid of her. Not bad, because normally Batman Ninja Catwoman, who's highly ascended in the arena, is quite something to counter. But this actually worked out pretty well here. So though this isn't the only strategy. And what do you know? I actually won the fight. So this wasn't the team. But by and large, you need to basically look at team synergies either using the classic team together or using the multiverse team together. And as a new player, you would personally, as I had said in the last video, avoid strong dark sides until you get twin blades or the characters whose specials help you break shields, or you're facing a weak dark side. Or you have characters who are tank enough to either, survive his bombardment if they can't jump out of it, or basically just wait until shields are disabled and attack then. So because if you do have to face the dark side without the tools to face them, you basically need to block once you activate the opponent's shield. You can block until it goes away, and then attacks, so that's the other thing. And then as a new player, you would also need to be careful about teams with Black Manta, because when Black Manta is paired with other legendary characters as a part of synergies, all of them can temporarily inflict and prevent healing. So that's one thing you need to be careful about. Selecting teams in Arena and until you have like a really strong team or a Manta yourself, or perhaps like the Batman Ninja team, which you can get for free from Arena or others, but whatever team you use against teams with Manta, be conscious that if they do a special they will. You have damage over time, health reduction for a while, and you won't be able to heal even if your character has a heal, while that effect is active. So that's one thing you need to watch out for as a new player and as a new player. I would also recommend avoiding teams with a very high level. Last laugh the Joker. Until your teams are tanked enough to counter them, or you have characters with the Kryptonian regeneration matrix, because this guy, if you kill him, your character gets stunned and the next one could get you. Or like the League of Anarchy team does high damage against stunned opponents, so with their passive. So basically, and if this guy is the starting character and he damages one of your characters, sometimes he can even stun other characters on tag, and so the stun is a chance. It's not 100% thing that so, but the issue with that is that there could be times when like he's got a 50% chance to stun at max passive, at lower it would be lesser. So there could be an instance where he kills your starting character, but the other characters or the clones or their revived versions with the Kryptonian regeneration matrix, they could all get successfully stunned and killed by this guy, though that's pretty there, but that can happen. So to face a team with a Joker, you would need a starting character with the Kryptonian regeneration matrix. You can also add characters who heal from dot like Hellboy, or characters that increase dot resistance. Additionally, you could use characters that have an ability to tag characters out, like in the Batman Ninja team. Batman, Ninja, Robin. Let me pull them out. The ones which have a special which tags characters out. So if you're facing a Last Laugh Joker, or if you're facing a Nightmare Batman, who has that reflect passive, and you want to finish off the other characters first, then doing Batman Ninja Robin Special 2 can tag the opponent out, and Robin's somebody you could win from arena seasons and is accessible to you. Batman Ninja Batman Robin is quite good. Many players use him in both arena and invasions, along with Ninja Catwoman for immortality and his ability to tag out opponents. As a newer free-to-play player, and even Silver Banshee, who's accessible from a challenge, has the ability to tag opponents out with basically her specials and whatnot. So I think which one? So yeah, there is one of her specials, there's tagged people out. Yeah. Let's have a look at her character and bring up her specials and passives. Should load shortly. Yes, this one, the second one. So you've also got to look at characters like that, particularly when you're facing the Last Laugh the Joker or a Nightmare Batman in Arena. If you can't deal with them up front, you can at least tag them out to deal with the other characters, so that then you can successfully kill them without worrying about getting stunned or otherwise. So that is another useful tactic for you to employ in Arena. And another thing you got to watch out is it earlier shown that basically teams with a high-level Nightmare Batman, some of them have a very rare free-to-play or a potential pay-to-play sold crystal artifact and whatnot, so that can reflect a lot of damage and special. So until you're tanked enough to beat him, and to beat him as I've shown last time, you'd either need like the Multiverse team, which has a passive which gives them immunity to reflect damage, and then you can wait until you build specials or with their passive or a few others. You can also attack him with basic attacks, but with that passive he reflects back a lot of damage. From your basic attacks though, make note as well of another tactic to use even on him. This is Entangling Poison Ivy, who regenerates health for herself, and her League of Anarchy teammate. So while she fights Nightmare Batman, even if she loses health, she regenerates. So these are the tactics you can use against him, but otherwise also look at teams which have a very high-level Raven or a Batman Ninja Gorilla Grodd, who basically increases the power generation of his team as a new player. You basically want to ensure you're tanked enough to face them, or you can possibly I guess, as a new player, you'd spend a bit of time using the refresh function here, because what's going to happen is that, as I said in the last video there, sometimes you find higher threat teams you can beat, or sometimes the low threat you can't. I will demonstrate the refresh teams function that helps you change which opponents you are facing at the relevant difficulty tier shortly. So here, like if I say that, okay, I don't want to fight this team, I can do a refresh. So normally I would fight this team, but as a new player until you get all the characters. You need to be patient. You may need to refresh until you get the opponents. And yeah, there could be some you can beat and otherwise like. So this is Nightmare Batman. I think we've already done a demo last time, and this is the Dark Side and the Shields. And this is a multiverse, team and herself. So you see the synergies. So what you can do is you might find a higher threat team that you can beat, although the previous one may have been tough for you. And so in terms of the other opponents that you need to watch out for. So I've told you about like the League of Anarchy, and I've told you about this one, the like Nightmare Batman. Now this is a good high threat opponent to face because although they're high threat, they have no synergy. Shazam and Multiverse. Supergirl is being used outside of a multiverse team, and then Raven is a pretty strong character against anybody, but they have. What do you say? She's normally used with legendaries, so she can be used with anyone, but as an opponent. If she's used with non-legendaries, it doesn't really matter much. And then you've got Shazam. So this should be an easy fight for this team. I know that I guessed that a lot of the earlier tutorials on Arena haven't really covered Ascension because most people use Ascended characters in raids and invasion mode, but Ascension also hasn't impacted, as I had warned that some of the Ascended Batman Ninja Catwomans will be extra strong in Arena. So you've got to watch out for them, and this as well. Like another thing you need to watch out for is the tech characters, because the tech characters have a passive that gives them power generation and basically power drain on critical attacks and a couple of other things. So in higher critical damage. You need to watch out for, and most importantly, Ascended meta characters. Because meta characters have a buff that allows them to do passive damage similar to the Twin Blades artifact to all tagged out characters. Now in Invasions, it's pretty rare, but over here in Arena, it works pretty well even the lower levels. So you need to be very careful about facing any meta characters as well, because they could have buffs that they could basically do splash damage to your entire team. So that's the kind of things you need to watch out for. Like, synergies and the buffs of the other characters. Some of the other things I didn't cover earlier in terms of tips is watch out for Raiden and his power steal on combo and high damage when you have low power, particularly teams that use him with Nightmare Batman. In fact, try getting Raiden yourself. You can also use the Multiverse team to counter teams with Twin Blades, or use teams with Brainiac to counter the amount of damage you receive. There are many possible tactics, and for the best possible advice, I recommend you watch videos made by Sigvald the Grim, as he is insightful for both old and new players, and is one of the few people who make genuine step-by-step tutorials for new players, including what characters to focus on first, artifact tier list, what to upgrade first, etc. By the way, not to brag, but I do regularly get Legendary or at least Untouchable in Arena, and on 2 occasions, last in November 2023, I topped my Arena